We are now live, guys. Welcome back to our third ever edition of the Startup Tank, the show where we get some of the world's top founders and bring investors on so that they can pitch their vision, pitch their mission of what they're trying to achieve in the world. Today, we've got 8 awesome founders on the program. I'll give you guys a rundown of those in a little bit, but if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the Startup Tank. I'm your host, Matt Ward. I'm a venture partner with Climentum Capital. I run the Startup Tank here, and I work with founders and startups on helping them grow and scale faster. I run a syndicate, which is what powers all of this here at the Startup Tank at thestartuptank.com/syndicate. You can find out more about us and what we do. Basically, we're focused on pre-seed and seed stage world positive companies, people that are bringing the world forward, focused on climate tech, fintech, sustainability, e-commerce, AI. To learn more, again, thestartuptank.com/syndicate. But now I want to kick things off and get into our third ever edition of the Startup Tank, the first one to start on time. Finally, we've got some of the technology working. And as I said, we have 8 incredible startups here today to present. We have Skin Theory, KetoSwiss, Liv-Zee, Doozy, Foodwiser, Lendorse, MySupply, and Benefits. I could give you a rundown about what each of these companies do, but I've always found it better to let the founders kind of introduce themselves. I don't want to steal their thunder. They've practiced their pitches. They're going to have 3 minutes on the clock to pitch to you guys, the tank, and the world at large. We've got investors here. We've got potential co-founders, potential employees, and anyone else who's listening on YouTube or podcasting platforms. If you guys want to subscribe, it's thestartuptank.com/YouTube. You can find this in all of our future sessions, and be sure to apply at thestartuptank.com. But now I want to hand things over to our awesome investors, our awesome founders. So first up, how about we kick things off with Akshay of Liv-Zee. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Liv-Zee is an incredible company that I met. They're basically the Uber of home care. Akshay, are you ready?
Ready when you are.
So yes, one sec. Let me give you the highlight reel so that people see you above everything else, and then we should be good.
So can you see my screen?
Yes, we got your screen, and you are now the highlighter. Go ahead. Let's hear us. Tell us about Liv-Zee and what you guys are doing.
Brilliant. So welcome to Lives. We're a home care platform provider, and we're looking to transform the care industry and bring it into the 21st century. So to tell you about Lives is almost to tell you about myself. So I've grown in and around the care sector for more than 8 years and grew up working as a care worker. And my family have a small agency in the east of England. So I've had the opportunity of seeing hundreds of customers, hundreds of caregivers, and really understanding the pain points of the industry. So to set the scene a little bit, there are millions and millions of people with unmet care needs. More support needs to be provided throughout the care process. And what's shocking is that 25% of providers are at risk of closure. So the service model is unsustainable. Now, why? Why is the care sector in crisis? So it's recruitment and retention, a lack of innovation, and public margin squeezing. And the point of pain is so deep for customers and for caregivers. So for those families seeking care, there's an unmet care need with more than 1.6 million people not receiving the care and support they need with activities such as getting out of bed, preparing food, or going to the bathroom. And for those families lucky enough to find care services, they report poor support and communication, a lack of continuity, care quality concerns, and being an extremely complicated system to navigate. And then on the other side of the coin, we have these caregivers, everyday superheroes who look after our loved ones. And they report low rates of pay, tough working conditions, and a poor job perception. And having worked as a carer myself for many years, I can attest to these myself. So in a nutshell, we're looking to solve this huge accessibility problem of care by connecting care seekers and caregivers and providing a smarter end-to-end care service driven by data with the ambition of making care more accessible for all. So our two-sided home care platform improves care quality for our customers and families. So our innovative care model allows for greater accessibility and continuity. We're able to enable and open up channels of support, communication, and transparency, but we're also converting the vast amount of unused data in the sector into digital health tools to inform both families and medical professionals, while also implementing aspects of primary care to fill in the gaps in the healthcare sector. And for our caregivers, we're able to pay more than 40% higher wages as compared to the market average through our cost advantage that comes through our technology. Our features allow us to provide greater support and progression opportunities, but most importantly, we're improving their working conditions. And this is by reducing the amount they have to travel, reducing their administrative burden, reducing wastage of time, and also giving them more control over who, when, and where they work. So we think that in our 5th year, we can generate a revenue of 82.5 million. And this is based on tracking the growth rates of the market and of relevant competitors. So to break this down into platform numbers, that's 7,500 customers and 2,600 carers. So the highly regulated nature of the industry, meaning that we can only attack the supply right now. So in our pre-recruitment campaign, we have managed to gather a waiting list of carers of more than 1,000 people, carers waiting to join our platform. And in the 2 weeks that our registration platform have come live, we have been able to get more than 50 applications fully onboarded onto our platform with a significantly low cost per lead as compared to the industry, and extremely warming sentiments from carers around the country who see the value not only that we're adding to them, but to the sector as a whole. So we're looking to raise around £750,000, and this money is going towards building our infrastructure to overcome the regulatory requirements, fueling our pilot launch, and bringing our MVP to version 2. So this gives us 18 months of runway, will enable us to solidify product market fit, enter the public sector, and begin phase 1 expansion. So I want to welcome any questions you may have, and I really think that together we can start improving people's lives. Thank you.
Well, Akshay, super professional pitch, super well-timed, super well thought out. I think the company's super interesting. I'm going to dive into my questions in a sec. Folks who are listening in on the live stream, again, that's at thestartuptank.com/live. If you guys want to tune into this or future segments, put your questions, etc., into the YouTube chat channel. And then when we get time, we'll ask those at the end. So you can get those as a follow-up. In addition, Akshay and other founders, make sure you guys are posting your contact information there as well for any investors or possible prospects that want to reach out. So a couple common questions I have for you, or things that pop up initially, is huge market, but also super highly regulated. How do you deal with that regulation being an early pre-seed company? How do you convince investors that this is something worth taking a shot on? Yeah,
so firstly, the market size, the in-home adult social care market in the UK is worth £22.8 billion per year. And yes, it's a very regulated industry. However, the care sector is very unique in that the care requirements and care hurdles that there are to enter the market are very easy to lay out, but require the compliance aspect. So firstly, on our technological aspect, we're working with our regulatory body and also working with professionals in the space to essentially bulletproof our compliance, regulatory and legal components, as well as bulletproofing our technology beyond that. And also we've been able to work with some amazing mentors and professionals in the sector, also having a deep family background, that we have a deep knowledge and have created an all-encompassing framework to essentially comply with all the standards that there may be it data protection, be it care compliance and safety and all of that.
What about compliance on the Uberized side of things, in terms of the UK has new laws with concerns to Uber and to freelance workers?
Yeah, of course. So we're reaching this new era in the gig economy with now a new category of worker being created called the dependent worker. So we've based our model based on the newest legislative changes that have happened in the last 6 months, and working around that dependent worker model allows us to, one, maintain a compliance and supervisory component over all the care that ensues on our platform, but also gives our carers the freedom to, one, work in the manner in which they want to and optimize their working life, but also in a way that they can increase their earnings and increase their opportunities for progression as well on our platform. So being able to translate our cost advantage, higher wages, overcomes all of those problems that Uber very famously had with the High Court in London.
So the market that you're tackling as well is massively growing.
Yes,
but it's also has we kind of talked about this a little bit. There's also a churn issue as well, which is morbid to talk about, but I'm sure investors are going to think of. How do you pair those two things together, and how do you sell that vision to investors?
Yeah, so well, we know in most of the Western world we have an aging population. People are living longer, and more people living with long-term and chronic conditions. So we know the demand for care services is only set to increase and continue to do so. And we're seeing this high level of churn because of two or three things, as I mentioned in the beginning. It's this lack of innovation. So it's a very archaic industry, which has seen very little disruption. We're also seeing that recruitment and retention, having a grip on supply and having a reliable source of carers is the biggest issue, as well as public margin squeezing. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to get to the hearts of carers and being able to see what their key issues are and create solutions for them. So whether it's significantly increased wages, improve working conditions, and also reframing their job role. And in doing that, we believe that we can essentially reduce the amount of churn that occurs in the industry and create a sustainable, viable manner for servicing the market of care in a way that we can take into the future.
So I've got one more question for you before we open it up to the audience. And that is, if you fail, why will you fail?
If we fail, it will be because we haven't been able to grip the nature of supply in the manner that we believe we have. But I think the data we have is extremely promising so far. So beyond that, it's just whether we can gather the awareness out in the market that care is changing, join us on this wave.
Awesome. And Claudia Gonzalez Tornquist, thanks for the question. She wants to know if you're just working in the UK, and I'll piggyback off of that in terms of what's the expansion plans as well as you grow?
Yeah, so firstly, we're starting in the UK because it's the market that we know most about. It's where I'm from as well. And also then beyond that, our expansion plans, there are many adjacent industries within the UK that our infrastructure will be able to move into, be it childcare, be it nursing care, digital health. These are all adjacent markets that we will be able to service. But then if we think internationally, there's the US, there's Canada, there is France and Germany, all markets which have very similar healthcare ecosystems as we do, and it's very similar demographics and changing shapes and patterns that exist. So just the US market alone is a 93 billion in-home care market itself. So the scope for international expansion is huge.
Is it fair to say compared to other healthcare companies, you have a faster entry model because you don't have to go for public money?
Yes, very much so. And also the nature of care itself is that the level of training that it goes into is obviously much lower than doctors or nurses, for example. So it allows us for a very quick turnaround between entering a market and becoming a mature player.
Awesome. Any other questions from the audience? Again, post those in the YouTube chat, thestartuptank.com/live. If you want to tune into the next, we've got another one of these coming up on April 11th, April 25th, and generally we're doing them 1 to 2 times a month. And if you're a startup interested in raising money or being featured, visit thestartuptank.com to apply. Do we have any other questions? Thanks for the question, Claudia. And then we would move on without further ado. We'll hop on over to Martin Wall of Foodwiser, who's trying to make us all a little bit wiser when it comes to food, so to speak. Thanks so much, guys. You ready, Martin? You are muted, but the floor is yours.
Hey, just 1 second. I'll share my screen. Could you confirm that you see the
Yes, Foodwiser, gotcha, loud and clear. What do you do? What is Foodwiser? How are you trying to revolutionize the future?
Hello, everyone. I'm Martin Wall, and let me introduce you to Foodwiser, which is AI-driven personal food assistant. Everything started with when I was diagnosed with stomach reflux, and I started to see what is happening with the problem of nutrition digital world right now. So first of all, there is lack of knowledge what to eat, the ideas for the next meal. And the second one, the dietitian service is really expensive. And at the same time, there is no personalization of those meals. So we want to fix it, remembering that every one of us is different. So we want to prepare dishes based on personal preferences, based on goals, tastes, allergies, preparing the meals. We are giving access to personalized nutrition plan, which will be generated by our AI recommender engine. And of course, we are giving possibility to order all of the ingredients from local groceries. The additional goal is to use all of the ingredients that was bought from the shop. Our market size, we are based on 3 billion people, mostly in North and South America, Europe, where 50% people try a diet at least once per year, and our goal is 5% of the market share. So what is our product? We are preparing the platform to share recipe between the users, where we are giving them fully automated process of generating nutrition plan, but also access to meals. Additional, they will receive access to order all of the ingredients from local groceries. So let me introduce you to our team. First of all, Viola. Viola is our tech person for AI engine. She is a data scientist specialist. She's working right now in AWS. We are still looking for CTO to our team, but at the same time, we have 2 more people that are joining to our team, which is CFO, COO, and UX UI designer. Our competition, most of our competitors are because of their database of users and results, but none of them address 2 main problems, which is lack of knowledge and what to eat, and this personalization. So our model is freemium model. All of the features are for all of the users, but access to nutrition plan will be just for the premium users. We're looking for 12-month investments of $500,000 in pre-seed for 8% of equity. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions.
Martin, I think the first and most obvious question is just the competition. How do you overcome the competition? The diet and fitness space is incredibly competitive, tons of players, tons of money, and tons of smaller resources as well for people to use online.
Yeah, that's true. And I totally agree. But we need to remember that 95% of diets die just because there's no personalization. None of us want to eat what we don't like. So after, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days, sometimes it's a week, people resigning from the diet because they don't want to eat something what they don't like. And we want to address this main problem. So that's why, that's how we want to disrupt this in different way.
So then you think people are willing to spend enough money to have the food that they want in order to keep using Foodwiser? Is there a possible problem of long-term retention, people kind of finding the recipes, fine-tuning and quitting?
Yeah, because the service is like just preparing the recipes. There are many of websites, many of applications, and people are using them just because they like them. But if they receive the diet that they don't like, they don't want to continue it at all. So this was the main problem for me as well when I was diagnosed with stomach reflux.
How do you see the breakdown of your users in terms of weight loss versus custom diets, in terms of why people would want to use the product? Are people using this more, or do you foresee people using it more to kind of slim down, or because they have certain issues, or because they want to be vegan or pescatarian, etc.?
First of all, we are focusing on people who have a diet like vegan, vegetarian, diabetic, lactose-free, and gluten-free, because most of people need help in this one. But of course, we want to, in the future, coming with the next one, with many diseases, with the stomach, but not only stomach, but you need to change your diet because of something, because of your disease or allergies.
And what do you see in terms of longer term potential? One of the big challenges that I see is you want to integrate with local retailers so that people are able to get their food delivered. That becomes a region by region nightmare in my mind. Or is the plan just to use platforms like Instacart?
Yeah, we have a plan to use Instacart. But first of all, we are starting in UK, not in Poland because we are based in Poland, but we will be starting in UK and then United States. But yes, we want to use the services like Glovo, Instacart, Getir, and more of these services. This market is growing really fast, and new companies are coming in the way.
What's the reaction you've had from investors currently in terms of how to get, or why you're still raising the round? What are investors saying?
So first of all, we are at the early stage, so we know about this. We are just working on the product. We are not stopping. This is not that we are looking for the money and we are not working on the product. But at the same time, this is a project which involves AI, and we need to remember that we need to learn this engine to recommend the best meals. So this is the biggest issue for us right now, and this is the first question that we received.
Awesome. Then I want to move on. It looks like there's no other questions in the YouTube chat. I want to move on now then and hand over the floor to Dimitri Danilio with Lendorse.
Thank you.
Dimitri, you're up. Thanks so
Guys.
much, Marston.
Hi guys, Dmitry is here. Let me share my screen.
Share your screen and take it away, Dimitri.
Can you see my screen?
All good. You are
Okay.
live.
So let me start. I'm originally from Kazakhstan. My co-founder is originally from Russia. We are both international students, or we are international students in Germany and Switzerland. And we know lots of people from Africa, Asia, and other developing countries who like to study abroad, but they don't have money to study abroad. And what we thought, it would be good to find talented students from developing countries to provide them financing to study abroad in UK, in Europe, in US. And after their graduation, they pay us a percentage of their salary back. So we provide them not only money, but also mentorship, so they could get to know some people from the industry, get the advice, and receive very good education in Europe, UK, and US. So our status, we already financed one student, and we are about to finance other 4 or 5 students. And we received lots of applications from different people from around the world who like to study in Europe, and we are really surprised by this huge demand. So our ideal student, or our target students, are people who like to study at IT bootcamp, people who like to do master in IT, or some bachelor students, but the majority are IT bootcamp students and master students. So it's quite easy to find such students who like to go to study abroad. Actually, we are not the first people at the market, and there are already some other income share agreement providers. Some of them are in the US, some of them are in Germany. For example, Blair in US, it's a new startup, or they're already 1-2 years old. There is a company in Germany, Brain Capital, and the main difference between those two companies, for example, and our company, so that we support international students, and those two companies, they support mainly local students in US and in Germany. We also have a scoring model to see how good students are. So we want to support only the best people, or the most motivated people. What else? The difference between us and those competitors, we have a community. We support students with different connections in different industries and with advice. So here I would like to mention our scoring model, how we score students. We look at the industry where they would like to work in the future. We focus mainly on IT students. Now we also look at the universities, how good their university is. We also look at their hard skills and qualifications. So the GPA from their home country, their school, look at their IT skill, their languages they can speak. Also, we look at their IQ and other tests. So we have already one student, as I mentioned, whom we supported. It's a student, and how we offer conditions to students. We know expected salary according to our scoring model, and we want to receive a certain ERR from this income share agreement contract, and we say how much, what's the percentage will be the student will pay after his graduation, and for how many months. So our main revenue streams are payments by students after their graduations, because they pay a percentage of their salary after graduation. And also we have lots of IT graduates in the future, and we will connect those students with IT companies, because we have talented graduates in IT. We calculated some, and our revenue, so some homework done. Maybe on this slide, I'd like to mention that we aim for around 20% ERR of each ISA contract. It might be, maybe it sounds a lot, but still we have some default rate definitely, and portfolio ERR will be lower in the future. And currently we raise 500,000 from business angels and VC funds. So mainly we want to finance students and have some other expenses like IT, marketing, headcount, and legal. This is our team. So we have currently 3 people, 2 co-founders and 2 hands-on advisors. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Dmitry, thanks for sharing Lendorse. It sounds like these days that's definitely something that's more and more in the spotlight, so to speak. I know Ukraine is one of your target markets. What do you see in terms of investor reaction, or in terms of your thoughts on competition? There's a lot of competition internationally, but you're trying to have a different spin on that. Has that been a challenge?
So regarding competition, currently we are not so concerned about it, because there are definitely companies like Blair and Brain Capital in Germany, but they focus mainly on local students, or only on local students, and they exclude international students because they don't score students on a one-by-one basis. And actually what we do at Lendorse, we score students before we provide them financing.
Do you think that that'll be enough to be a competitive moat going forward?
What I see now is our main challenge is to convince investors that students in the future will pay us back. So we can provide some historical data from our competitors that their students pay back. But now, as an early stage company, it's difficult to convince investors that our students will pay back.
Also, the structure of the business is a little bit different, where there's almost 2 different capital sources that you need: one for building the company and one for funding the students' education. How are you structuring the company to accommodate that?
Yes, we have to raise 2 streams of money. On the one side, typical VC money to grow the company, and on the other side, institutional investors' money, like family offices and so on, to provide financing to students. But at this early stage, at the initial stage, we decided to raise only VC money and put them partly to students, to finance students. But in the future, when we can show some traction, we will raise also from family offices and other investors to support students, to finance students.
Is that the same model that the US and the German companies used?
I think also other ISA income share agreement provides a default similar way. But yes, like they also raise debt money to provide it to students, to finance students.
Okay. Have you had any challenges raising versus a conventional kind of software, something sexy or simple? Your product is, and your business is not necessarily a sexy thing. It's ISAs.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not sexy because now social impact businesses grow quite fast and attract investors. And we also have a very huge social impact component because we allow students, graduates to earn 10 times more after their master, for example, here in Europe, in comparison to their salary in their home country. So we have a huge ESG component. And
don't get me wrong, I love what you guys are doing. I'm just saying it's much easier to raise money either for the next like D2C startup or for a SaaS company that's like, we have $23,000 in recurring revenue selling XYZ business to business software.
Well, let's look, for example, at Blaze. They, for example, raised $100 million as a debt financing to support students in the US.
How do you scale this up to something of that scale? What are the next steps for you and for Lendorse?
Mm-hmm. So next steps is so when you have more money to support students, we have to develop our IT to make it more scalable and to increase our marketing effort in developing countries like in Asia, Africa, and so on.
Very good. Very good. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Again, if you guys have questions and you're watching along on YouTube Live, which you can check out at thestartuptank.com/YouTube, make sure to subscribe as well so you never miss a thing for our upcoming sessions. If you have any questions, post them in there. Also, it looks like Florent was looking for the pitch deck from Akshay and Lives. I always have trouble with pronouncing that. It looks like your email got redacted, Akshay. So you guys can connect via just lives.co.uk. Do we have any questions more for Dimitri and Lendorse? I guess one last question to follow up off of what you've been saying would just be on the impact investing side of things. Have you been able to get much traction with impact investors? I know they typically like to see a little bit later stage, a little bit more proven traction or impact so that they can report that to their LPs.
Regarding our traction, we try now to find students who are about to graduate, but they still need some money because they don't have enough money from their parents or scholarship is not enough. And those students will graduate quite soon, already in summer, and start paying us back in summer, autumn, and then we can provide more traction. And this shows that we can get money from students back.
And then the payback periods, did you mention how long those were?
It depends on the student, how which funding a student needs. So some students pay for 2 years, some for 3 years or 4. It depends on the funding sum.
But it makes sense. They're certainly more than happy to do it because the increase in salary is enormous between Russia, the Ukraine, or Ghana and Germany.
Yeah, I think for majority of students, often I have heard this about 10 times. And I can tell it's also from my experience because I'm originally from Kazakhstan, lived in Russia as well, and then I went to Germany to study here. And then it's I can tell it from my experience as well.
And that's eating your own dog food. That's scratching your own itch. Dimitri, it looks like Claudia Gonzalez Tornquist is interested in connecting. So if you could post your email address in the chat, then maybe you guys have a meeting or have something happen. Thanks for presenting, Dimitri. I want to move on now. Now, next up, we're going to have Andreas Zimmerman of MySupply. They're doing some pretty interesting stuff when it comes to sourcing and negotiations with suppliers, trying to make the supply chain a little bit more efficient overall. Andreas, are you ready? I'm making you the spotlight presenter. You are on the clock. Let's hear about MySupply.
Yeah, so after such an amazing topic, what Dimitri just presented, it's of course very tough, but I do my very, very best to not bore you out with a stupid SaaS solution. But let's go ahead. Can you see my screen?
We got your screen, and there's we got your background still, and there's nothing wrong with SaaS solutions as well.
Thank you so much. So I'm glad to hear that. Okay, first of all, of course, I'd like to give you an idea about what MySupply is. We'll take care for negotiation, in particular in procurement. And for us, it's pretty important topic because especially in procurement, so it's not going for, yeah, it's continuing. All right. So companies are losing millions because things are not really negotiated pretty well in many companies. And because of, on the one hand, there is a lot of effort, what it takes to really negotiate very good. On the other hand, it also is a lot of things you need to know to really do intelligent negotiations. And we are going to solve this with a digital solution. And this basically saves companies a lot of money. So MySupply can't be used for everything in particular, but there's a huge area of spend, which is the one which is not really negotiated properly. Normally you get an average of 3% savings, where you just ask from procurement, asking the supplier, hey, you're not delivering really good price. Can I get maybe 3% off? And this is what you get in average. Or even though there's a big bunch of things which are not negotiated at all. I just talked to a company today, they're not negotiating below a threshold of 50,000 euro. And so for this area, we can very well work with automated negotiation and save an average more than 11%. With MySupply, we develop basically two solutions. The one solution is a complete sourcing, which is applicable especially for medium-sized companies. And there you got the full run of doing the tender, supplier search, tracking, but also supplier evaluation. Then we build lots so to make it suitable for the negotiation. And then it's our sweet spot. We do the automated negotiation by first of all, defining the negotiation strategy based on the lots and the offers, and then going into the negotiation in a very automated way. For the huge companies where we're really focusing on, we are going to implement into huge solutions like SAP Ariba and Coupa. And we just pick this piece, which can just be added to the tenders that existing sourcing solutions like SAP Ariba or Coupa and also others are providing, and just mainly add the automated negotiation to really make it very easy and very convenient for the buyers to integrate it. So our market is really, really huge, but we are not competing against someone basically. So we're having a solution that is an add-on to existing solutions like SAP Ariba. What we aim to do is we aim, especially when we look into SAP, we were looking for achieving a 10% of their customers. So this means about 500 customers, which will create an average recurring revenue of about 30 million already. And this is just the start. I'm planning to do this with many different integration into many different suites. With MySupply, we have been founded 2020. We're currently looking for convertible loan. We're going to bring the plugin to the SAP store in April and planning for a bigger seed round by the end of the year. So MySupply does not really have a competitor. So there's many indirect competitors, but no competitors to do what exactly we are doing. We have a great team. The CSO who just recently joined was former head of sales of Scoutbee, and we have really cool people on board. We're based in Hamburg and also based in Sofia, in Bulgaria, and also a bit in Ukraine and Tunisia. What we're currently looking for is 800,000 euros, which is still missing out for our 1 million pre-seed round, what we're currently doing based on convertible loans. And yeah, we're planning a bigger seed round by the end of the year, as already mentioned. That's basically it. Thank you so much for your patience and looking very much forward for your questions.
Awesome, Andreas. Thanks for sharing MySupply. My first, and I think the most obvious question for anybody listening is, Why would suppliers want to use this if you're advertised that the buyers get better prices because of using it?
Yeah, so of course, for suppliers, this has also some advantages. So they get their business pretty quickly, so they don't have to deal with long processes, and they also learn about the competition where they're in. But of course, we are not selling the solution to suppliers, but to the buyers. So this is our customers, this is the ones who are paying, but also for, as mentioned, for suppliers, it has a lot of advantages using it.
I know I get a lot, not a lot, but I've gotten more recently automated emails from people where I'll send them an email and there'll be an automated email back saying, sorry, I'm not taking unsolicited emails. Verify you're a human and do this here, or verify you're a human and spend 0.1% of a Bitcoin or whatever it is to have your email go through to me. And then I always just think those people are a bit of snobbish pricks. If I can be honest, why would a supplier not think something similar if they get an automated response like this?
It's not just an automated response like this. So what we try to do is make it very convenient also for the suppliers working with MySupply. For example, when they are in a negotiation, everything what they really get is an information they can really rely on. So it's just we're not cheating around with suppliers. They really get all the information that is needed. They get more information about the competition, and they also can really see and have a calculation sheet within MySupply, which makes it pretty convenient also to recalculate their prices. And so this is just saving a lot of time also for the suppliers.
What's the biggest challenge you have right now in building the business and in selling specifically to customers?
Yeah, so of course, basically what we need is speed. Of course, we are, as mentioned, we are not having the plugin ready. We are very much focusing on having the plugin ready. And of course, we are very excited to having the first trials with customers. But of course, time is money. And of course, currently, we're in a situation where it makes a lot of sense to have the traction as soon as possible, especially in an area like procurement, where it's very complicated also for investors to understand what is really behind and what is the market. And for investors, it's most likely that they want to see the traction as soon as possible. And so we can't wait to have it up and running.
Mm-hmm. And for anyone who's listening, of course, if you got questions, post those in the show notes. We've also got a poll of who's your favorite startup of the night so far. If you could post in there, that would be great as well. We've got Lendorse, Lives, Foodwiser, and of course MySupply. Sometimes it's a little hard when you've got to be doing this live. My last question for you before we open it up to the audience is, what's the big picture? What is the kind of 100x from here? Where does MySupply go?
Yeah, so of course, for me, the story is like we're first of all helping to automate things in sourcing. Then we're going to an autonomous negotiation. But in the next place, we can even go to an autonomous sourcing, which means that we can run fully automated tenders, including negotiations. And we are already starting with some customers already working on that. So this is pretty cool because you can really digitize the full process. And this will, of course, change a lot in procurement, which is much behind in a lot of areas. And we are aimed to be, of course, the first one having really fully autonomous sourcing processes ready, where the negotiations is mostly the missing piece. And yeah, so I think there's a great journey to come.
Especially with the supply chains getting all shaken up thanks to COVID. Do we have any other questions for MySupply before we move on to our next awesome startup of the night? And don't forget to post your contact information in the YouTube chat there, Andreas, so that we can get anybody interested can reach out to you. Next up, then, I want to hand things over to Dr. Elena Gross. I want to thank you for presenting, Andreas. And now we're moving on to a fun one here. We've got ketones solving migraines. I will let her take it away because it's not my field of expertise. Thanks for coming today, Elena.
Thank you so much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Elena, a neuroscientist, PhD in clinical research, and the CEO and founder of KetoSwiss. And I'm basically here today to tell you why this is no longer me. These are my attempts to illustrate what it's like to have chronic migraines for me about 8 years ago. Migraine is actually the third most common of all diseases in the world, and it affects 1 in 7 of us, mainly women. It's also extremely expensive for society, and there are no solutions targeting the root cause of migraine. Everything available is symptomatic painkiller treatment only. What if I told you that migraine, or at least a large subgroup of migraine, is in fact as much a metabolic disease as it is a neurological one? Despite food having never been as abundant as it is today, what we eat has changed drastically. And very simply put, on those modern Western diets, these migraine brains are starving. And this energy deficit in the brain could be at the root cause of migraine. But why is that good news? Well, we cannot do much about our neurological hardwiring to date, but we can fix metabolism. And this is what we aim to do with MigraKeet, our first metabolic migraine prevention product. The concept behind MigraKeet has been awarded several prizes, was recently published in Nature Neurology, is also patent-backed with the first of 4 patents having all claims approved in the US already, and other countries are following soon. And it seems efficacious in this newly defined metabolic migraine subgroup. So a recent clinical trial on a non-potent first version of the product in 40 patients at the University Hospital in Basel showed a 30% responder rate. In responders, almost 60% reduction in migraine days on top of the placebo effect. Treatment response could be predicted with 3 very simple blood biomarkers, and there were no safety concerns. But the best finding for me is actually this one. The metabolic and inflammatory markers that you can see here that define responders on the left side are all improved after only 3 months of MigraKeet treatment, which can be argued to be very basic evidence for disease reversal. Now, due to the safety of the compound, we have a very special regulatory situation which allows for 2 go-to-market strategies: a consumer health product, which means quick revenue for us and fast patient access, and a medical or drug route, which is prescribable and reimbursable, that allows disease claims, but of course takes much longer time to market access. Due to the lack of solutions and the huge number of patients, the migraine market represents a massive opportunity. If we were to reach only 10% of high-frequency metabolic migraineurs in Western Europe, US, Canada, and Japan only, this would lead to a peak predicted revenue of over $5 billion at peak penetration. In the last couple of years, we've been able to raise roughly $2.5 million in grant money, a seed round, and convertible loans. And we're in need of a total of 9 million, of which under just 3 million are already committed in our Series A. Our diverse management team includes Dr. Tim Trenchrock, who was head of quality and supply chain at Actelion from the start until the recent $30 billion exit with Johnson & Johnson. Dr. Adrian, an Oxford colleague of mine, PhD and MD, and us 2 were the first 2 people in the world to actually work with that compound in randomized controlled trials. And Will, who brought Chromadex from 0 to 50 million in revenue on the consumer health side of things. And together we have over 150 years of work experience in that space. And thanks to MigraKeet, this is how I feel today. So if you would like to help us fuel migraine brains, please help fuel KetoSwiss. And with that, thank you very much for your attention.
Super cool technology. Thanks for the presentation, Elena. One of the first things that comes to mind for me is 2 alternative business models is a nightmare. Why and how much is that holding you guys or making things harder?
That's a good question. And especially that is what we hear from investors quite a lot. What one has to understand that 2 parallel business models are not really truly parallel. So the go-to-market is happening now versus a drug route, which means you have to go back to animal studies and then you do more human studies. A drug is like 10 years away. So quite a few of the things we're doing for the supplement launch, initial studies and so on, or animal studies can be outsourced and can go in parallel without taking up too much time. And when we get to a phase 2B stage, we would completely out-license or even sell the drug route and never really do both things at the same time, just do some of the development steps somewhat parallel, somewhat in series.
That was my question. Isn't the play for this to prove the product, and if you have IP, then to license it to the big boys and girls?
Exactly. That's how you do it in the pharma side of things, for sure. So that one path is definitely going this way, and it's also going to be in the background for a bit more. The medical food product, which is something in between a supplement and a drug, which is the go-to-market route that can actually literally still happen this year. That is something that we would do fairly soon, and also probably on our own. Well, that's the plan anyway.
It's the plan anyway.
Yeah.
And then plans always change and are subject to double the prices and all of that other stuff that everyone here is all too aware of because of startups. So
that's why I'm saying it, exactly, because things change a lot. But currently looks like that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. So you're making this product. It's super interesting, the research, what you found. But I think it's only barely scratching the surface. From my understanding and what I've looked into in terms of ketones, ketosis, health, most of it comes down to inflammation and most of the biomarkers that you were discussing.
Yes, exactly. And we have this is live, so I shouldn't probably be saying this, but anyway, we have a study funded for depression. So the next thing we're looking at is depression and migraine or ketosis and all the other cofactors that you need for energy metabolism that are in migraine. It's not just ketosis, but that's a key part of it. We'll be looking at that in depression, and there's already evidence also that at least a subgroup of Alzheimer's could also be a metabolic issue in the brain. So you're totally right. So the mission of our go-to-market brand, Brain Ritual, what it's called right now, is actually to revolutionize brain health, metabolic, one could say maybe metabolic neurological diseases or neurometabolic diseases, however you want to phrase that category that doesn't really exist yet. I think that's the goal. And we're starting with migraine, we're continuing with depression, and who knows what big neurological disease may be next. But that's the goal. Migraine is the surface, and that we have good patent protection there, but it's only the start.
So you have incredible technology and a big vision, but at the same time, people are used to scam artists in the space. How do you avoid being called the next Theranos? How do you yourself into something of a super success as opposed to something else, at least in investors' mind, when you need that initial funding to get it over the hurdle?
I think solid scientific research is the best way to go. Publishing in peer-reviewed articles, publishing or making available the raw data. That's something we're doing as well. So with the next publication, that is basically this study right here has just been submitted, so it's not yet available, but we will make everything available. So that helps. And then we have two of the leading brain health foundations of the US invested in KetoSwiss that have looked at all the science and the research and said this is a very promising idea. So I think those are the ways: getting the experts on board, having them scrutinize the data, and just have the data speak for itself, and have it at least looked at or ideally conducted by a third party that is independent.
Mm-hmm. And if you fail, why will you fail? What will be the reason? What will kill you guys?
Well, it depends on the route. So for the medical food route, I think what can kill you, no matter how good the product, is execution and marketing. So that's one way how we could fail for sure, is not reaching the patients or doing the marketing incorrectly, not having enough marketing budget in this crowded space to actually get to the patients where it would be helpful. On the drug side of things, there can be unexpected findings in the clinical research that can stop it from working, or it could also be investors being very skeptical, or third parties, big pharma being skeptical that approach like this will work despite the data being good. That could kill the drug arm.
Let's face it, they're not going to be skeptical the approach could work. They're going to be skeptical they could have a recurring way to sell the product because it's ketosis in certain sense. It
depends. So well, we have a compound, or we may likely have a compound on the drug side of things that is not a naturally occurring product. It's designed to have two naturally occurring products and be safe, but still investors are skeptical sometimes that you can make money with something that isn't a new chemical entity in that sense, that isn't targeting just one target in the body. We're targeting 8 different pathways or 10 or more at the same time. That's wanted, but that's not typically how biotech is doing things. This opened up a new can of worms, but the typical biotech approach when they treat acute diseases is you design a molecule which you can patent that is not a naturally occurring molecule that binds to one receptor in the body. And this is how we're trying. This works really well in like rare monogenetic diseases where only one small mutation or whatever is responsible for the disease, or an acute symptom, say fever or something else. This works really well. But the problem is that these huge, very common, I'm calling civilization diseases, are all multigenic, very complex diseases where so many small mutations and pathways, so many pathways together add up or multiply to lead to the disease phenotype. These diseases, I think, can never be fixed by this one single target approach, because one single target may explain 2% of the disease. But this is still how we try to approach treating Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, diabetes. We try to find a single target. This will always fail, but this is how biotech has always done it and is still doing it. So I think this could be the biggest skepticism on our drug route, is that we're trying to do it completely different by targeting 10 plus pathways in a disease rather than just one. And that's something that your classical biotech investor or your classical pharma representative will not have heard before or not done it this way before.
They're very focused on duct taping a small problem versus fixing something. One last question from Claudia, and then I know you said you had another investor call you had to hop on. And that was, thanks for the question, by the way, Claudia. And MySupply, it looks like you got an email. Somebody wants to find out more about the company. Stefano Siaka. Sorry for pronouncing that wrong. I'm terrible with names. But question for you: why start with migraines when there is so much application potentially with ketones and ketosis?
Well, I guess the reason is very selfish. I had migraines myself. I understand this disease very well. It's my research background, so I have more credibility there. I also have published there. And also, I was the first to write a patent in that space. So we have a granted patent on the use in migraine that is very broad, just because it's a very under-researched and undervalued, let's say, disease. So that's why we're focusing on migraine first. Better patent protection because I was first. I understand the disease the best out of neurological diseases due to my research background and also credibility. And I guess lack of solutions. There's very little solutions in the migraine space, so very little competition as well.
And there's nothing worse than suffering inside your own head, because then everything is and then everything is eternal hell. Yes, yes, it is. I'm very glad I don't suffer from migraines, but I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing to help people that do.
Thanks a lot, Matt. It was a pleasure to be here.
And I want to take this now, guys, take a chance before we jump into the next pitch to tell you guys again, of course, this is the Startup Tank. If you guys have not subscribed and followed us, thestartuptank.com. And if you are interested in these type of companies, you're interested in learning more about them and world positive companies in general, this is all brought to you guys by the syndicate, which is our angel group investing in pre-seed and seed stage, really world positive companies, people that are moving the world forward in big and positive ways. You can find out more at at thestartuptank.com/syndicate if you want to learn a little bit more and apply. This is by no means a solicitation. And now I want to move on to our next presenter. This would have been nice when I was growing up. Fortunately, there were no mobile apps, but today we've got Skin Theory on the program with Mo Wessensee. She's tackling acne in a big new way, helping you not have to go see a dermatologist, but still keep your skin nice and just not looking horribly teenager and pimply. Mo, welcome to the program. I will let you take it away because you can do a better job of presenting what you guys do than I can.
Thank you, Matt. So acne is the 8th most prevalent disease worldwide. And oftentimes it's a disease that's misunderstood as something that's just aesthetic and not of a big societal issue. But in this pitch, we'll explore why it has a bigger impact than we oftentimes believe. So on the right side here on this slide, you see my co-founder, Connor, when he was dealing with the worst of his acne when he was 23 years old, fresh out of college. And he will be able to also attest to you that acne is really difficult to deal with for several reasons. Number one is that our skin is very complex and it's based on several different variables and factors. Treatment is equally complex, if not more, both on the non-drug route. If you go into a DM in Germany or into a CVS in the US and you buy some cream from Clarasil or Proactive, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on promoting those and trying to make you believe it's the miracle cure. But even if you go to a dermatologist, there's over 20 different global guidelines for them. And also for people suffering from acne, what's really hard with it is that it's been linked to causing depression and anxiety, making it even more impactful. And it's not just Connor or myself and a few people, it's a lot of people worldwide, 742 million people suffering from this disease. We're focusing on the US market. So in the US, it's 50 million people. And also it's disproportionately affecting women, with 15% of all adult women dealing with acne. And this is why we're proud to have made it our vision to make millions of people feel confident in their skin again. And that is also why we came up with Skin Theory, which we're really proud to present to you today, which is an app that provides you with a simple way to understand and treat your skin. So Skin Theory is based on 3 simple steps. First of all, we provide the user with a personalized plan. Then we provide them with a tracker. And finally, there's coaching and analysis. And as you can see, some parts of this journey are free and some parts of our premium, part of a premium plan. So first of all, the personalized plan, the personalized plan is something that we know users really want because we get asked for it all the time. And we can provide them with clear instructions on what they should be doing based on just a few questions we ask them about their skin type and what their acne looks like. We can base this on the textbook medical approach that we have already codified in an experiment. And the next part is really important. It's the tracker. This is an actual screenshot from our app that is live, not just a mock-up. So tracking is super important and recommended by the American Association of Dermatologists to do at least 4 to 6 weeks of it when you change something in your routine, because your skin needs time to adapt to it and you need to really understand if it worked or didn't for you. And finally, we have coaching and analysis, where as a user, I'm being provided with some new insights. For example, here I can see that dairy is strongly linked to my skin health. And the plan is automatically adjusted for me without having to think too much about it. We know that people really need this because they're spending lots of money on time on it. The global skincare market is nearly 200 billion. The US is 18 billion. And we estimate our serviceable obtainable market to be at around 270 million. Now, we've already shown some great traction there because our app is live on Android and iOS with 7,000 installs, 150 weekly active users, 550 monthly actives. And this is all organic, so we spend 0 on marketing. And the team that's making this possible is Connor, myself on the business side, Connor's on the engineering side. On the medical side, we have Christian, and we're supported by the Berlin Funders Fund. So in summary, we're working on a huge problem affecting over 700 million people. The market readiness has been proven by one of our competitors, but they haven't captured the US and the European market. And will have a large impact in this growing health app market, as well as prevent mental health and physical scars for people. So this is why we are raising a 450,000 euro pre-seed round. And we'd be glad if you want to join us on this journey to make millions of people feel more confident in their skin.
Thanks, Mo. That was a great presentation. First question for me is, are there any type of network effects or moat? How do you build this into something massive and defensible?
Yeah, that's a great question. The one thing that will, in our more long-term strategy that we see there, that we'll be able to do is give people really detailed advice. Like, let's say we have someone who is native from South America and they have oily skin and they live in Hong Kong, which is very polluted. So it's a very specific case, and maybe they're even vegan. Over time, by having tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of users, we'll gather all this data and experience of what worked for which person. We'll start with a general textbook medical approach, but over time we'll see, okay, this benzoyl peroxide doesn't work on this ethnicity very well, for example. So we'll be able to give people very, very tailored recommendations.
Another one that I had for you is, congrats on the early traction, but my kind of almost backhanded question is, you had a lot of traction, but not a lot of continued usage. People are downloading, but they're not continuing to use that much. And that would be my question. Is that a product flaw, or what's the case, and how do you change that in the future?
Yes, so the app we have live right now is the most basic thing you can imagine. It has two functionalities. When you track, you take a photo of your skin. The good thing is it helps you take those photos out of your camera roll where your dog photos and vacation photos belong, and takes those acne pictures in this app. And secondly, you take free text notes. That's it. And then you can look at your old entries. So and it's only people who are very intrinsically motivated who are using it right now, who know the value of tracking, who have failed for several years and now understand this. We haven't made it fun as Duolingo is yet to track, and haven't given people streaks. And we just added notifications and reminders 2 weeks ago. So we're working on these features to make it more fun and more sticky to track.
Are you worried about the mental health side of things at all? So what I'm kind of envisioning is, I'm on here, I'm using the app, and it's like, knock, Matt, your face is starting to look like shit. You're breaking out in pimples. And I can imagine, Instagram is depressing teen girls enough, teen boys as well, I'm assume. Have you thought about how you deal with something like that that's sensitive when you have people with raging hormones?
That's a great question. I think also that's on the brand side a big differentiator of us, and because we're very aware of what this feels like to have acne from our own experience, and we've been very involved in the kind of Instagram communities and so on around acne positivity, which we've gotten a lot of great users and interviews from. And what we've learned is that we really need to be careful there, and not only help people solve their skin or make it heal, and we also never say the stuff like imperfect or dirty. We avoid those things to shame people, and we help them also feel confident in the process of solving their acne. So we want them to be confident that they're on the right way, but it's okay if your skin isn't perfect. So this is something we're really look out for in our wording and in our communication.
Okay. I know you have a freemium model. Have you thought about possibly making it fully free and then just monetizing via affiliate products? Yes,
we just think that our initial go-to-market is the freemium model, the subscription, but there's a potential that in 3 or 4 years from now, the subscription will be a small portion of our revenues, or we'll get rid of it. We just see it as a quick and way to get into the market, and to get some proof and to start growing, to get the flywheel going, and also not relying on affiliate marketing so much in the beginning allows us for faster scalability internationally.
Oh, in terms of the products, I see. What about in terms of the go-to-market? What is the plan? How do you explode onto the scene? This is a super competitive space, I imagine, when it comes to cost per click, and with other players coming in. I know there's at least 1 or 2 other German companies that are doing similar things.
Yeah. So the thing with cost per click is definitely true, but not so much on the App Store, because there's very few technological solutions about this. There's lots of products. So if we wanted to compete with all the brands selling creams and so on and targeting the terms acne, we would have a problem. But since we're on the App Store, App Store optimization is going to be huge for us. We're already seeing big improvements there. That's where our users come from. But another thing that is a smart move, we think, is to be really in touch with the communities online on social media. And we're also building the product that it becomes helpful for influencers. There's lots of medium-sized and big skincare influencers, giving them a tool that then they can post exports of a before and after of a cream they're testing for their users, and showing real data from our app and charts of how that cream that they're promoting is actually helping with them, will be in the background, and always there is our plan to help these influencers make better content.
Not just that, there's a strategy I have for influencer marketing. I like to call it the the a-hole test or the guilt test. And if you reach out to influencers and you basically have an aligned missions with them, if you can make them feel guilty for not saying yes to promote your product, which I think you could very easily hear of, you're trying to help your fans have a better complexion and feel better about themselves. Well, that's what we're trying to do too. If you think people deserve better skin, yada, 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 we'd love if you'd help them do that with Skin Theory.
I think that's great. Also, we can tell them, please be more transparent with your users. If you use this, you can show that you're not just being paid, it's actually working.
Mm-hmm. Another question from Claudia, a great one. Thanks, Claudia. What's your competitive advantage compared to the competition? So right now, I don't know if you necessarily said you had one or what the plan is for that.
Yeah, since this was a 3-minute pitch, I kept it for the Q&A. But the competition, we basically have one big competitor. The rest is relatively irrelevant in terms of what they provide and the user numbers. This big competitor is called Trove Skin. They're from Singapore. They were founded in 2017 and they have over 2 million users. So this is great because it's super motivating to us, not scary, because they have proven that there's a market need. But their main flaw is that they are so reliant on affiliate marketing that they haven't been able to expand past Asia. They're stuck in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and we want to capture the European and the US market first. Also, we see that their app is complex and clustered. It's an accumulation of different features. It's not very, we want to follow the acne user journey from beginning to end, make it easy for people.
Mm-hmm. Or from beginning to continuation. I imagine there's a kind of long-term stay with a plan kind of deal that you guys have, maybe a lower price tier.
Exactly, a sort of maintenance tier.
Yeah, maintenance mode. We got another great question from Bin on Win. After the pre-seed round, what's the roadmap for further investment look like?
Yeah, so the pre-seed round we've calculated to last 18 months, and then we'll be targeting a seed round. So what we're trying to do with the pre-seed round is to really prove that what we're thinking about doing is working, and if not, make adjustments, and also test marketing channels. So as written on the slide here, for example, go on App Store keyword marketing, do these influencer ideas and campaigns and see how it works. So when we raise the seed round, we can already show investors, this is the return on investment, this is the customer acquisition cost on this channel. We're going to invest this many thousand or hundreds of thousands or millions in here.
Mm-hmm. Another great point from Claudia. Don't forget the Latin American market. Huge market there, booming, and very, very diverse compared to some of the other markets.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
We've had a couple investors and listeners ask for pitch decks and other information from the founders. In case you don't get that or you need help, you can always send me an email, matt@thestartuptank.com, and I can connect you with any of the founders who are presenting as well. But now, Mo, I want to say thanks for presenting, and that we would move on to our last presenter of the night, David with Doozy. Sound good?
Thank you very much.
And David is a Doozy, all right, with what they're doing. David and Doozy, they're trying to make wiping less dirty. I will let him tell you about that. And take it away, David. You should be able to share your screen.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Not yet. One sec. Now you should be able to share your screen. There we go. Got it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, everyone. I want to tell you more about Doozy, our modern hygiene brand. It's a Dyson of sustainable hygiene products. So here's the problem. 90% of the wipes on the market contain plastics, and 100% of the wipes are packaged in single-use plastics, and 50% are actually packaged with water. Now, if you're a consumer or a business that's using wipes or any type of single-use hygiene products, that means you're overpaying for a bunch of plastics and a ton of water. So I founded Doozy with the mission to create a first sustainability-focused hygiene brand. Now, the way we achieve this sustainability is very simple. First, we actually create our wipes without water. And second, we actually design our packaging without single-use plastics. The result is that we can actually create cleaner, more sustainable products with better ingredients, with better function at a competitive price. We're first on the market with the patented refillable compressed pods that are made without water and packaging made with ocean-bound plastics. With our wipes, they are 10 times smaller, they're 2 times lighter, and 30% cheaper to ship. What's also cool about our wipes is that they are 100% tree-free and compostable, and they're optionally reusable. So with our dispensers, they are made to remove about 8 to 10 single-use plastic bottles from the ocean, so that every purchase, the users are able to actually track their impact through the QR code that's going to be embedded on the dispenser, and they will be able to, be part of the story. We started with direct-to-consumer with a portable consumer product, but we're also expanding to B2B to empower guest services for hospitality, retail, and aviation industries as well. The industry is massive. It's a $6 billion market in US alone, to grow 6% a year. In 2020, about 20 million consumers in the US have used wipes more than 31 times within a week. And we're seeing that number to grow exponentially over the next decade. One of the biggest movements that we're seeing is also the rise of this ethical consumer. We believe that we're living through the movement of what we call the refill revolution. From categories from razors to cleaning products to shampoo, toothpaste, you name it, with massively successful disruptor brands, just like Quip, Dollar Shave Club, and Dove. And yet, wipes is one of the last remaining categories that is multi-billion-dollar industry yet to be disrupted. We knew that in order to win on the market, we needed to find a solution that is simple, fast, and effective. From consumer standpoint, we win on 3 factors. They save money, they save space, and it allows them to reduce waste on all fronts. From sustainability standpoints, we win on 3 factors. They save plastics, they save water, and they save carbon emissions shipped from these planes or trucks that we're shipping. And we win on the margin that we save from the size and also the weight of the products. So in late 2020, we began initially with a pilot test with a simple proof of concept to test the consumer interest. We were blown away with the response, and we did over $100,000 in sales. And since then, thousands of people have made a commitment, made a choice to a new future, a future where wiping doesn't need to be dirty. We've absolutely proven that there is a demand for better for you wipes, and that consumers are willing to pay a higher price for it. And we're also gaining some positive momentum from hospitality and beauty chains across the United States as well. We've gotten incredible feedback from our consumers to validate a lot of our assumptions to make this into an investable business. This January, I left my full-time job to pursue this, to build this full-time with my partners. And we have proven with our surveys that 78% of our customers and prospective customers are willing to recommend to their family or their friends, and also are willing to buy into a subscription, which makes this into a highly recurring subscription business. Our team is credible with combined 40 years of experience in R&D and design and marketing, bringing innovation to market. Our chief science officer, who we're bringing on, is a PhD at Yale. She's a Tier 1 Canada research chair, working with Health Canada on the forefront of innovative research for sustainable development and public health. She'll be leading the R&D and creating our sustainable hygiene products. And our design is also incredible. They've most recently led the design for Unilever, the refillable deodorant that won the Fast Company and the Red Dot Design Award in 2021. Also worked with other baddest retailers like Reckitt and Philips and so on. We are raising a pre-seed round of $1 million on a $5 million post-money cap. And I'll open the floor up to answer any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for presenting, Daniel. Sorry, David. Sorry. Wow, way too many names. So thanks for presenting, David. Lots of stuff, lots of figures flying my way. I know one of the questions that I had, and one of the questions I think a lot of people are going to have is, how do you build D2C is hard, and it really does come down to marketing and brand. How are you going to be the one who wins that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple ways that we're tackling. One is we have a very strong IP strategy. We actually have multiple patents, utility patents pending on the wipes and our dispensers as well. So with our wipes, we're actually developing a version where there are natural non-toxic antibacterial formulations impregnated in the dry wipes. So it actually removes the need for the water or sanitizing solutions to be delivered at a dry form. And that is something that is very unique. That is the first on the market. That is built on the material science of the antibacterial nanotechnology. That will be kind of the foundation that we build our product, which is very much unique on the market. So the first piece is the IP strategy. The second is that we're actually going B2B and B2C at the same time to build that extra distribution exposure and that moat at the same time with our distribution. So not only with the product, our product also has the great partnership with beauty chains and hospitality and aviation industries that we're going after, and we've gotten positive response so far. About 30% response rate that they want to try out the products and they'd like to actually receive a sample. So it's something that based on our current climate, a lot of the retailers, a lot of the B2B markets are interested in trying out and making a transition into a sustainable product.
One of the things you see with a lot of D2C brands like this and like others is they build up to a certain scale through kind of powerful marketing and then go to get acquired at a couple $1 billion range. There was, I want to say Harry's, I'm not sure if they were acquired, Dollar Shave Club, Casper. All these companies seem to hit a certain ceiling and then they either get gobbled up or kind of stay at that state. Is that the future for Doozy, of building something that gets acquired by Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's something that we're keeping at the back pocket. Like, we want to build this business from the first year to be something that has the vision for getting acquired for sure. We want to make sure all the products that we're building is defensible, has a moat, has a patent behind it, and has a loyal community of customers behind it, and to be able to make this an attractive business to add to a portfolio to a bigger, conglomerate like Unilever or P&G and whatnot. We've definitely seen other players on the market, like you said, like Dollar Shave Club, they have also exited for $1 billion a couple years ago. Clean Coat is another modern, refillable cleaning products that have raised 25 million on Series B. Another brand called Blue Lane also raised $20 million Series B, which all kind of indicates from the market, signals from the market that consumers are actively shifting to refillable products, to sustainable products. And, the investors also, along with the other, bigger FMCG companies, are also investing into these, more sustainable, refillable, cleaner products that have a great mission behind it and are willing to invest in those businesses.
Is that your main sales point, the sustainability aspect, or is it the price aspect? How do you know what that is, and then how do you double down on that to make that the core of the company?
Yeah, absolutely. So sustainability is the first and foremost our brand mission, and it goes, it applies to our production, our materials, to transportation, to the reusability aspect, to really make this product something that at the end of the day actually does save consumers a lot of money. One thing that we've discovered is that one stigma that is with consumers these days is that sustainable products are sometimes ineffective, they're not that attractive, and they're expensive. And we've actually learned this through the data that those are the top three factors why people are not switching over to sustainable products. Our products are actually, checking off on all three of those points. One, we actually have a refillable model and a competitive pricing that over the long term will save consumers money. Number two, our products are far more aesthetically pleasing. They're, by design more, it's smaller, it's portable, it's personalized with different colors. You can reuse it forever. So it's something that you can carry in a purse and you actually have more usage and frequency out of it. And three, it's priced at it is effective. We actually have, studies behind it. We actually have the, clinical studies and the lab research to be able to validate our claims and also be able to offer this on the market that is as effective, if not more, than the current solutions on the market.
Okay. One of the big challenges that you see a lot with companies is trying to do too much. You said you want to go B2B and B2C. Why two business models simultaneously? Same question as we had for KetoSwiss.
Yeah, so we believe that B2C is the channel that we initially started with kind of that product feedback, creating that product feedback loop. We've managed to build that direct relationship with our customer, which is what has built us to this point of iterating on our products and making sure that we are creating a product that people want. So that is a channel that we primarily get our feedback from, and that is something that we plan to continue on for the next, for the next 5 to 10 years. B2B is a channel that we believe has been untapped in this market because, one, the need for hygiene and sanitation is at a peak level, and a lot of the B2B, B2B markets are actually interested in our solutions, and it can be a great distribution channel where we get a massive exposure, a massive brand awareness that will bring us that kind of cross-pollinate between audiences, between our DTC and also people who discover our products through B2B. So, we don't necessarily think that it actually is hurting us or we're, spreading ourselves thin. We're actually thinking that this dual go-to-market strategy is actually building us for a better long-term sustainable growth by having that strong feedback loop, but also paired up with that extra layer of distribution that normal DTC brands that are online only wouldn't otherwise be able to get at the same time.
Understood. Okay. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Anything that you guys want to ask? Doozy, what are you thinking? Any thoughts? Any problems with the business or the investment? And then as well, while we're listening and waiting, we've got a poll in the live chat who our startup of the night is. Right now we've got Lives is leading the poll, and then KetoSwiss, Doozy, and Skin Theory. We had the poll already from earlier, and Lives was leading that as well. So it looks like Lives is gonna run away with startup of the night. But do we have any questions now for David with Doozy? Let's see. So one thing that Claudia wants to know about in terms of sanitation in the future, there's a lot of issues, and you guys are tackling water and to some extent as well trash and pollution. What other issues are you worried about, or what other issues do you guys as a company kind of want to deal with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we believe that this problem that we're solving with single-use plastics, and we're launching with wipes because it happens to be, the multi-billion-dollar industry that hasn't been innovated, that's creating so much trash that is polluting our oceans, and that is the most immediate kind of lowest hanging fruit that we can tap into. It is the place where we believe our product has the best differentiation in terms of the product and distribution and the form factor. So that is our first penetration, our foot in the door to get that market validation and brand equity. Once we have that, we believe that we can leverage our material science, and we can go into other adjacent categories such as flushable wipes, which is also a giant multi-billion-dollar industry that has so much issues with sewage and plumbing, city plumbing issues that are costing cities billions of dollars. We actually have the science to be able to create this into a tree-free, really truly flushable wipe product. We're actually working on creating starting the R&D for that as well. So that's another aspect that we're also tackling as well. That will address some of the access to clean water and sanitation across the world, because sewage plumbing infrastructure is the system that allows that flow of clean water to others across the world. And it's flushable wipes is a huge impediment. It's a huge problem to that right now. So that's another adjacent category that we're targeting. We're also targeting some of the other single-use products that are cutting down our great boreal forests of Canada, with toilet paper and paper products, paper towels. We have great manufacturing partners to be able to, source some of the most sustainable products that are certified, that are renewable, backed with our material science, but also with the design to be able to make this into a really appealing product that are completely refillable, and save a lot of waste in our planet and save you money at the same time. So we have a lot of opportunities on the horizon, but we want to be focused on this specific hygiene sanitation with the wipes first, to be able to get that foot in the door.
And then we have one last great question from Big Wing Tech. Thanks for coming on again, Big Wing Tech. And that is the military. The military, huge focus on not only sustainability, but really on carryability, on space, the amount of space that soldiers, et cetera, need to carry to have, there's not a lot. Hiking, I could see similar things. Have you looked into the military as a possible purchaser or large scale business for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. I think that is, like a pretty sizable segment of our customers actually come from that background. People who are, kind of the minimalist, emergency packers, or people who want to, have these products that actually save a lot of space and allows them to carry more and use less to do more. And that is definitely one possible target market that we want to go into. One thing that we found when we want to go to get these larger B2B contracts is having the right lab tests, having the right claims and certifications, and that's something that we want to check off right off with this raise, is getting all those R&Ds done, getting all those tests done to be able to go there, to go into the military or the government or hospitality or hospitals, to be able to say, hey, we have these claims that are evidence-based, that are science-backed. We have these great traction so far. We have these great consumer feedback so far, and we believe that these products can actually bring a lot of value to your operations, for you to operate at your best, and actually saves you money too, and it actually helps you with your align with your mission, with your sustainability as well. So we believe our product has so much versatility. It has so many diverse applications, and that is kind of what we're building with the product feedback loop with DTC channel. Is we have so many customers that are buying from beyond just our immediate group that we're initially targeting, that are giving us ideas to then kind of be able to offer this in a market that hasn't seen this before.
Understood. I think there's a ton of potential here. That's why I was excited about what you guys are doing, as someone who's a parent himself and has wiped a fair number of butts. throwing out all of the wipes, or having all of the issues, or always having to carry wipes around. None of that is fun. None of that feels good. Do we have any other questions now for Doozy? It looks like we've pretty much covered everything there. And then
awesome.
Claudia wanted us to open up Startup of the Night one more time. It looks like Lives was kind of ran away as the favorite. I don't know if we need to open it up. They've got 90% of the poll now of the most recent 4, and they won the first one as well. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Startup Tank. We had 7 incredible companies come on, and we'll have our goal 7 again in another 2 weeks from today. That's April 11th. If you guys haven't checked out, be sure to visit thestartuptank.com. You can apply there. We have startups. If you're interested in pitching, that's the place to do it. Investors, if you're interested in learning more about the incredible companies that we work with, both here through the Startup Tank and the ones that I work with and invest in, both via the syndicate and in my role as a venture partner with Climentum Capital, then please visit thestartuptank.com/syndicate. You can find out more details there. None of this is a solicitation. It's just letting you know what we do on the other side of things. Thanks everybody so much for coming on today. Thanks so much for tuning into this. If you've enjoyed it, thestartuptank.com/YouTube, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And to learn more about us, thestartuptank.com. If you're a founder that's trying to grow faster, you can download my free growth, fundraising, and viral product hacks guides by going to mattward.io/free. And there's a little bag of goodies for you just for putting in your email address. Again, that's mattward.io/free. If you want to raise your round faster, scale your company bigger, and take things up a notch. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for presenting. Thanks for sharing your mission. I know you guys, time is money when it comes to being a founder, and this is kind of your baby, and you're putting it all on the line. So thanks for doing that. And then I guess with that, we would wrap up this segment of the Startup Tank. If you guys want to subscribe, be sure to do that. Hit the subscribe bell, and we will see you guys again next time on the Startup Tank, thestartuptank.com. And thanks everybody for presenting. Thanks for all the great questions as well, guys.